Next curve.
Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of Next Curve's reThink podcast, where we break down the latest tech and industry events and happenings in the world of semiconductors and AI into the insights that matter. And this is our Silicon Futures series, which I do. And by the way, I'm Leonard Lee, executive analyst at Next Curve, that I do with Karl Freund, the wonderful, illustrious Karl Freund of Cambrian AI Research. And of course, the die-lit, interconnected, and 5D package, not 4.5 or 3.5 or all this other nonsense. 5D packaged Jim McGregor of the famed Taalas Research. And I just want to know because Jim, you probably don't even know what 5D packaging is, but this is beyond advanced.
Well,
this is like ridiculous packaging, right?
I just spent the week out at Intel's advanced packaging facility, so I can honestly say I have no idea what you're talking about.
Neither do I. But then both of you say that all the time about me anyway. So welcome, gentlemen. It's good to see your faces again. After a really insane January, we had to suffer another insane February, right? In the world of AI, Karl's favorite world. But in this episode, we'll be talking about the hot headlines of the month that mattered. And as usual, there are too many. And these episodes will undoubtedly, this episode will undoubtedly touch on Nvidia, because I know that Karl's just got to be chomping at the bit to talk about about yesterday. Qualcomm, Intel, Cadence, AMD, Ericsson, and Meta, and more. So
I'll be honest with you, Leonard. I'm more worried about March. We have Mobile World Congress, Embedded World, OFC, Snug, GTC. Just, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm worried about March. I think I'm going to go nuts.
Yeah, I think you will. I think you will. But, thankfully, you'll be able to divide and conquer. But, hey, before we get started, please remember to like, share, and comment and on this episode. And also subscribe here on YouTube and Buzzsprout. Listen to us on your favorite podcast platform. Opinions and statements by my guests are their own and don't reflect mine or those of Next Curve, and we're doing this for informational purposes only. Please, no comments on stock prices and valuations, gentlemen. To provide an open forum for discussion and debate on all things consumer and our semiconductor and Karl's favorite topic, AI. And we will, just to make Karl happy, we will kick things off with Nvidia.
Now, wait a minute. Did he just warn us, Karl? Wasn't he the one we had to warn last time?
Yeah, I think so.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, my bad. My bad. So, all right, gentlemen, Nvidia, what do you want to say? What do you want to get off your chest? And that just happens to be the most recent headline,
I think
right? Working backwards.
It's amazing they had such an incredible quarter. Stock market response notwithstanding. Yeah. They actually had higher growth rate outside of hyperscale than hyperscale.
Mm-hmm.
That's
really surprised. That kind of blows me away. That means the enterprises, but also it means the sovereign AI has been a big boost to the revenue. It was like three times their norm, 3 times growth over the last year. Not just 75%, 3x growth in sovereign AI. So, and we've just really kicked that off in the last 18 months. So I think that portends well both for Nvidia and other players in AI that are providing rack scale solutions. They also mentioned in a call I just got off with Nvidia on, they mentioned that the sovereign AI is not just rack scale. They're actually deploying both rack scale and HGX-based systems. So it's all around great quarter. They blew it away, not only in data center, they blew it away in professional viz workstations, whose growth was dramatically higher than data center growth for the first time I can recall. So the one area where they didn't hit on all cylinders, one cylinder that wasn't plugged in, I guess, was automotive, ironically enough. Automotive was a bit disappointing.
Well, it's flat, right? But it's up.
That's not good.
Yeah, it is flat, but it's up from about a year ago.
But flat quarter to quarter.
What their their run rate is right now, and I think they're at about a $2 billion run rate, annually, which is, I mean, it's better.
And they had
bad
$6 billion.
What's going on?
They had $6 billion in physical AI, which is good to see some actual results in physical AI, especially outside of automotive. So, gosh, I think the green team nailed it this quarter.
They did, and they even gave a rosy forecast for next quarter. And they're one of the few companies that never mentioned memory, so they kind of tells you they're on the top of the priority list for memory vendors.
And Stuart mentioned they set their prices when they launched the product, and so as memory prices increase, they don't increase their product prices.
But the most important part is they have the capacity; they've got the allocation.
Yeah,
the whole supply equation is a little bit more complicated than folks might assume. But yeah, that was a surprise that there was actually no margin impact, or at least a discernible one associated with memory prices.
Yeah.
In fact, their margins went from 73% to 75%.
75%.
Which is probably not going to make a lot of their suppliers happy. But
it does say it was the quarter of 75 billion in data center revenue and 75% gross margin.
Yeah,
everybody's got to be clicking their chops at that. That's amazing.
But one of the things that I thought was really curious, and I posted about this on my Substack, I didn't do it on LinkedIn, was how networking. So they're reporting, they split the reporting on data center. Networking is growing like crazy. And obviously, with the introduction of Spectrum X, XGS, what is it? And then, NVLink Fusion, all this non-Nvidia, walled garden business that they're tapping into, really reaching into sort of that hyperscale scalar business. Looks like it's driving some serious growth. I mean, they went from 3.2 or 3 billion last year in the same quarter to 8 billion. So they're outstripping the growth in compute. How all that is really segregated in terms of their now increasingly complicated business of data center, hard to tell, right? And I don't think we get tons of clarity on that, which, it's understandable. But yeah, doing the compares is going to be more and more difficult going forward, I think, simply because their data center business is shifting so much.
Well, it is. And you also have to consider the fact that, and this came out obviously with the Meta announcement, the fact that Meta is basically using NVIDIA's entire technology stack. Now, they're still building their own chassis. Now, their chassis are a version of the NVL72, but customized.
Yeah.
But they're using the entire stack, especially Spectrum X for the networking. So the fact that that really does make it hard, whether it's a hyperscaler building their own rack or whether it's an enterprise taking an NVL72 rack. Yeah. They are selling. It's not just one piece or the other. They're selling the entire technology stack along with it, and that doesn't even hit on all the software components that are part of that.
Yeah, so, I have a question for both of you. How do you think that, because we don't really actually talk about Broadcom all that much. Maybe, they should talk to us more, maybe. I don't know. But if they don't, shame on them. But how do you guys think this is going to impact Broadcom? Because this has been sort of their wheelhouse. Obviously, Marvell is a big player here, whether it's scale up, scale out and now scale across. But I think in the networking front, I think you gentlemen will agree. Nvidia has their game on, has time, and where everyone's been focusing on the accelerator. When you have these system level and rack level, data center level conversations, it is not just about the accelerator. In fact, the accelerator is the thing that's improving the least or scaling the least.
Well, and that's a key point in the fact that, when they bought Mellanox, it was, okay, well, now they're the only InfiniBand provider, but it's much beyond that. I mean, Spectrum X has become an industry-wide solution that a lot of people are adopting, a lot of people are using. And let's face it, if you go with some of the solutions from Broadcom, you're basically going with a proprietary solution with Tomahawk. So, you don't gain any significant advantage by necessarily going with Broadcom because you're locked into their solution. Yeah. So I definitely think changes the dynamics as we look at networking. And to your point, Leonard, Nvidia is a major networking vendor, and it is going to impact Marvell and Broadcom.
It's showing. I mean, that's the thing that really stood out for me. Yeah,
I can't wait to see the market share when it comes out. Because it's hard to imagine Nvidia isn't gaining significant share in the networking market.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it also puts a little bit of or at least prompts me to put a little bit of a microscope on the compute side of things. So again, it's weird. Like whatever we assumed last year, we come into this year and we have to think differently about that company.
Mm-hmm.
So. But okay, cool. Let's move on to
and it's not even just networking. Look at what they've done with. I mean, they continue to change the server architecture. They introduced SOCAM with Micron last year at GTC, and it was a proprietary solution when it was introduced. Now it's a JEDEC standard. All three of the major memory providers are now providing it, and we're going to SOCAM 2 with that JEDEC standard, which obviously we'll probably see announcements at GTC around that. So it is they are changing they're changing the server architecture, they're changing the data center architecture. All of it's changing, and NVIDIA's kind of helped push all of that through the industry.
Yeah. Any final word there, Karl, before we move on to the next thing? Because I think we're NVIDIA down.
No, I think let's move on. I think we've kind of
okay. All right, Karl, you wrote something about Cadence.
Yeah,
and then their acquisition of Hexagon. I think it's the design side of that house.
Yeah, that's the design side. Okay. That's the design side.
Yeah.
My article was about their acquisition of ChipStack, which was a company that had developed agentic AI specifically, initially at least, for design verification. An area AI hasn't really touched much, and now they've got an agentic solution. And imagine this: you've got an agent on top that's orchestrating everything. Yeah. Okay, it's then calling agents over time for every aspect of design. Mm. Every aspect, even the initial design in RTL eventually. The way they do this, and so agents on top of agents, they call it super agents, kind of a funny term, but it aptly applies. And what they're doing is creating a mental model. I think the term is great. It's a mental model of what the designers intend the chip to do and how it intends the chip to do it. And so it really it creates a ground truth for all the agentry to check their work against this mental model and then iterate until they can get closer to achieving the design specifications and goals of the functionality and the relationship of various functions, and of course, PPA. It's pretty dramatic. They've gone from like 30% to, I think it was 84%. I have to check my math of design coverage. Wow. All through the use of this mental model. It's brilliant because you kind of wonder, well, okay, if you tell AI very specifically what you to do, it's going to do it. But for agents, the agents have to have some sort of model, this mental model that helps them and guide them to produce better results. And so they've just begun this journey to full agent supported, super agent supported and led. The humans are still in the loop. The design engineers must stay in the loop to close the gap and to check the work. And so if you're a design engineer, don't worry, it's not going to take your job. I think it's going to make you a better engineer.
It's going to make you be able to keep the pace up. Like I think we mentioned this before when we covered we covered Cadence live last year, right? And Anirudh team, this is like a big area that they were looking at validation or verification.
Verification. I honestly think this. I've always been a big fan of what Synopsys has been doing, and by the way, Synopsys is still doing great. But I think in the application of AI for the chip workflow, chip design workflow, I think Cadence has taken the lead.
Interesting. Jim, any reaction?
Well, first off, I think this is all good. I mean, when we've seen this. This was a debate a couple of years ago of, okay, do you use AI within the tools, or you use an AI agent to use the tools? And that's basically where they're going, is having AI in multiple levels. So you have it in the tools, and you have the agent using the tools. The real challenge still relies on the trust around it. And the fact that, even like especially detailed stuff like place and route, when you're actually doing a semiconductor design, not even Nvidia really trusts it yet. So it's gonna take time, but it's good to see it moving that direction. And you mentioned Synopsys. Both of those companies have invested heavily in AI. It's going to be interesting to see what happens now that Nvidia also has an investment in Synopsys. So it's going to be an interesting dynamic.
Eventually Nvidia is going to own everybody. So if Nvidia doesn't own everybody, it looks like Meta might. What is up with this AMD? What is it? 6 gigawatt deal.
I mean, to me, it shows that customization is important. Because and that's been Nvidia's story, is that we chose AMD because the chiplet implementation allows AMD to deliver at reasonable cost a chip that is custom for Meta's workloads. And by the way, Nvidia is not sleeping through this. Rubin CPX is also customization, although more in the software and memory architecture layer than in the semiconductor itself. And so Nvidia's point is, look, this is not good for margins. This is going to hurt AMD. This is my interpretation of their silence. That it costs a lot more to do custom silicon. You get to do another tape out as well as the design work. And it's still
semi-custom.
Chiplets make that easier to do than trying to change a monolithic die like NVIDIA, Blackwell. But it is going to impact margins. Well, one of the highlights of NVIDIA's announcements last night was their margins, over 75%. So I do think, however, that margins aside, I do think that the specialization of semiconductors for specific workloads and even for specific models. I wrote an article on Forbes, which I think is now available on my Substack, about a company called Taalas, Taalas. Fascinating. They've actually gone to the step of producing a specific silicon for a specific model. Now, the problem is models change every 12 to 18 months. You're going to have to tape out again another version. But what they've done is they've got the base layers all solid. And so think of that as what the software provides today in a GPU. So above that, they just have two metal layers connecting all these features, functions. And so they can actually produce a new model in just 2 months, not 2 years. That's very smart. And whether that will take off or not, I don't know. Hyperscalers are not going to be happy about having to manage that many SKUs. But the performance is dramatic. Now, right now, it's only available for ALMA 8B. but they plan to have a trillion parameter model by the end of the year with a reasoning model along the way, probably DeepSeek, I would imagine.
But that's interesting because that's a statement. That's a pretty profound statement about ASICs and what kind of headroom they actually have for that particular path to, for AI silicon versus GPU, right? So you have general purpose, but then when you do have these application specific, but that are large scale, the economics are undeniable if ASICs can deliver at that level, right? With that
and if they can, the question is, what's the TAM of a specific model? Right?
Yeah, because I hear from a lot of developers, they don't like all this change. The models aren't getting dramatically better for whatever application they actually use a particular model for. They need better economics. And so if an ASIC like that can deliver those economics, they don't care about anything else. Do you know what I'm saying? Especially if they deploy it. So they might do development in a GPU environment deployed model on ASIC, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's going to, we're going to see, I think we're seeing the beginning of a long-term trend toward silicon specialization in AI. It's expensive, but if you have a big enough market, it works. As long as you can turn the chips quickly, which Taalas claims they will be able to do. The team that led Taalas 2.5 years ago, I think they left Tenstorrent after Jim Keller came on board and became CEO of Tenstorrent. Ibiza and his team of execs and designers left and formed Taalas. They thought there's a better way to do AI. We'll see. We'll see if how the market reacts. They're not setting big expectations. They're saying, hey, this is our first chip. Think of it as a prototype. Not a lot of commercial use is available. TAM really is available for 8B. But as they go to reasoning models and foundation models, it can have an impact.
Yeah. So I don't think so. First off, you have to remember that you mentioned Meta and Nvidia. You have to remember that, or AMD. You have to remember that Meta just last week made an announcement with Nvidia as well. So I mean, they're not banking on one, and they have their own AI accelerator, MTIA. So it's they are spreading it across different types of applications. I do agree with Karl that I think we are going to see more customization, and I think chiplets and some packaging technology like Intel's EMIB-T definitely lend itself to doing that a lot easier than even what we have today with like CoWoS, because of having the embedded bridges rather than having to use interposers. I think that's going to make it easier and easier, and I don't think they're going to have to do a lot of die spins. I think in a lot of cases it's either they want to put another die on there, or B, they want to change the memory configuration. They want to change the I/O configuration. They want to change maybe even the compute node configuration or tiles. So I think there's going to be a lot of customization.
But Jim, do you think Nvidia will eventually adopt chiplets?
I think that, technically they've already kind of gone there with the dual die solution, although they don't like to call it a chiplet. So technically they're already kind of going there. And yes, I think, I think with the addition of engineering resources from Grok, and other talent, I think especially as they move into more customized solutions for inference, we're much more likely to see chiplet-based solutions from NVIDIA, AMD, and Intel to be able to do that. I don't think doing a custom ASIC for these models is going to be the way to go. I think that's a road to nowhere.
Bridge too far. Maybe a bridge too far. But it'll be interesting to watch it play out.
The cost and the time and everything else, I just don't believe is going to pay off.
There's another company called Etched, which is doing silicon and ASIC, not for a specific model, but for a family of models like transformers, so that will support virtually all transformers on a specific piece of silicon. Now, you're not going to run other kinds of things on there, like with current AI, but
you also have to remember that, whether it's the hyperscaler that's developing their own silicon or it's Nvidia or AMD, these guys are providing a full technology stack, not just silicon. And I think that's the moat. It's really that entire stack that really becomes hard to overcome of just doing a custom chip.
Well, that's right in NVIDIA's wheelhouse, right? Yes. They've been saying that for years and years and years, and they delivered for years and years and years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this year we'll see how things pan out. I mean, obviously, there's innovation outside of the Nvidia camp, and they're also ingesting a lot of things that are not intrinsically Nvidia, right? Whether it's Grok. I mean, it's clear they're looking at inference as a different game that they have to play. And I don't know. From my perspective, I think the jury is out whether or not they actually have the kind of moat that people think that they have. And I think when we see the continued growth and focus on their portfolio, it's easy for us to settle into that trope. So, but I think last year showed us that there are some curveballs being thrown in this game. But Jim, is there anything that popped for you this month that you really want to talk about, share with the audience?
Well, I think that one of the key things that obviously Karl hit on with the Nvidia announcement is that the build out of sovereign AI. In fact, we saw the announcement also with AMD, with TCS, with the Tata Consultancy Services, and their subsidiary to build sovereign AI solutions in India. And they, and I think that's going to be kind of a key differentiator. Talking about the customization, I think that's going to be a key differentiator. And we've seen that with the U.S. national labs as well, to be able to provide that level of customization. So it's going to be interesting to see. Other than that, I'll be honest with you guys, I am heads down because we have MWC, Embedded World, OFC, all this stuff coming, and it is just mind-numbingly scary. I will say this though, there is definitely, we still see this. We've seen the shock this month of, I think, people waking up in the fact that AI is going to change the software ecosystem, and it will. Matter of fact, I don't even know what a PC is going to look like when when all you have to do is tell it what you want. What does the hardware and what does the software look like when the agent becomes the underlying software applications? It becomes the application, or it becomes the interface. It becomes everything, and all you're doing is really asking it to do something. That's going to have tremendous impact on the entire industry, hardware and software. And I think we're still trying to understand what that means.
I think the Humane one. I haven't heard that much about it since Snapdragon Summit, but that's exactly what they're trying to do.
He wants one person and AI.
Let's hear more. Let's hear more, Tarek. Yeah.
I'm going to send him this video.
Hey, dude. It's a brilliant, brilliant strategy to make it work.
Yeah, I told him, hey, man, with the Qualcomm A100, I thought it was the A200 that they show. I was like, what the hell? But I didn't read the fine print. But hey, they're shipping racks. That's kind of cool,
racks,
right? Mm-hmm. But for the A100, I told him, dude, give Jim, Karl, and I a tour.
The other thing I would hit on that obviously still seems to be lingering in the industry is this concept of an AI bubble. We have so many AI adoption waves going on right now with industrial applications, with enterprise, with embedded, with and just a transition from token generation to multimedia generation. All those are driving. I mean, we just published our latest forecast, and the demand is still growing exponentially, and we've been kind of aggressive, and we've still missed the mark for the past 2 years on our AI forecast. I have to be honest with you. If this is a bubble, and we're really seeing these as major transitions. I don't see a bubble out there. I think that we are in this growth mode for at least the next 2 to 3 years, at least.
Yeah.
These paradoxes alive and well.
Yeah, I think we are in a massive bubble, because when you look at end markets, you don't see the monetization. You still see software companies really struggle to qualify. Where is the AI-driven growth that is commensurate with the investment that's happening on infrastructure, which should be orders of magnitude larger for the end markets, and that is absolutely not visible. And then also this idea that the AI model makers, the open AIs and the Anthropics of the world, are going to usurp the ISVs. Well, what is the killer app? So far, if there's any killer app, it's coding. What does code generate? Code generates code. It's traditional stuff to develop software that runs on CPUs more than GPUs. And so this is where it doesn't make sense to me.
I will agree with you that I think the business models to get the value back from all that for the code generation, token generation, multimedia generation is still being evaluated. And we saw this with the internet. We've seen this with a lot of different market transitions. However, the demand is there. The number of users increases. The amount of time they're using is increasing. Matter of fact, by our forecast, by 2027, we're going to have more users than we have people on the planet because we have agents using AI. So I would say the demand is there.
And monetization has to be there. It's monetizable demand is what's more important than demand, where it's pretty much given out for free.
But you also have to remember that some of that monetization you don't see in terms of additional revenue, you see in terms of savings. So we do see enterprises, improving productivity and everything else. So we do see value being created by AI.
In certain functions, but as a whole, I think that's still a thesis that hasn't been proven out consistently, right?
I'll agree to disagree.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's fine. But see that this is why we're doing this. It's not because we agree, because it would be friggin' boring. Hey, let's we know where each other stands, but no, I can appreciate what you're saying in terms of demand, but there's different qualities of demand is my point. And when we qualify if there's a bubble or not, it really has to do with, ultimately, is there efficient allocation of capital happening? And there definitely has to be end market monetization that's commensurate with investments that are being made, is just my point. And so that's how I'm shaping my view on if there's an AI bubble or not. And so, and definitely, there's arguments on both sides of the aisle on this. But hey, Jim, SambaNova and Intel. Any comments there? I thought that was...
No, yes, Jim, but my opinion is I think Intel is taking out a very inexpensive, smart option. As they develop their own technology. So that's why they didn't buy SambaNova. Not outright. They didn't buy their assets like Nvidia did with Grok. But they have a multi-year agreement to work together so that they can take advantage of and drive some additional revenue with SambaNova's chip, which looks pretty good, by the way. Haven't done a full analysis yet. But because they don't talk to analysts either. But the Nvidia, Intel's not throwing in the towel. They plan to do their own inference-specific semiconductor, which we'll hear about more later this year.
Yeah, completely agree. And I don't think it. It'll be interesting if they see value there. Then I would see there's an acquisition in terms of IP and or resources farther on down the road. But let's face it, they've already gone through multiple acquisitions in the form of AI that haven't necessarily paid off. So I think the board's going to be very cautious about doing another one.
Yeah. So just really quickly, circling back to the Qualcomm announcement with HUMAIN, and because I think we all want to get an invitation to go and take a tour right? I want to go with you guys. What did you guys think about that? A100 and then racks. Jim, you go.
Well, they're going in the right direction. I mean, they're targeting inference. They're leveraging their strength, which is power efficiency and doing power efficient solutions. They realize that they have to provide a full stack, full platform solution to be able to compete in the market. So no, I think they're going in the right direction. And let's face it, Humane AI is basically working with everyone and trying to bring technology to the Middle East through those investments. So everyone's going to benefit from it, and I think this really gives Qualcomm an opportunity to prove out its technology and its prowess and everything else. And let's face it, it has invested in AI for over a decade, although most of that's been towards the edge nodes. But they have that expertise in house, and they have that expertise to do very power efficient solutions in house as well. So. There's no doubt that the AI market's going to be so huge because no two workloads are the same. That there's going to be opportunity for a lot of players, and they're one. Let's face it, they're one of the few players that can provide a full stack solution, and that's what I think you really need to compete today.
Yeah, and Adobe is their first customer. Humane's first customer for that platform. Karl, any thoughts or reflections?
No, I think I agree with Jim. I think Qualcomm's doing all the right things. I can't wait to see the AI 200 and 250 when they come out. But meanwhile, they're not sitting still. They're fighting to gain share in a rapidly growing market, and they've got great technology. So I think they're executing well.
Yeah, hopefully we'll bump into one of those AI 200s in Barcelona, right, Jim?
I wouldn't count on that.
Oh,
no.
Bummer. Yeah, I mean, I'm just surprised that they put a rack together. That was my biggest question: is how quickly they would be able to do that, and what would be under the hood. Okay, and then one last thing I wanted to put out there, because we're going to MWC and there's this whole AI-RAN thing going on. I was at Ericsson's pre-event last week. They introduced a new Ericsson silicon that has an embedded or integrated neural network accelerator. So they're taking a different angle on AI RAN and the silicon related to it. So it's going to be interesting next week to see how the whole telco and RAN silicon talk track shapes up. But any case, I think we're at the end. Jim, you got to go. So hey, everyone, gentlemen, thank you, and everyone, thanks for listening. Make sure to reach out and follow Karl at Cambrian AI Research at www.cambrian-ai.com. He's also on Substack and Forbes, and also reach out to Jim, Tirios Research, at www.tiriosresearch.com. Please subscribe to our podcast. It'll be featured on the Next Curve YouTube channel. Check out our audio version on Buzzsprout and find us on your favorite podcast platform. Also, subscribe to the Next Curve Research Portal at www.next-curve.com for the tech and industry insights that matter. And we'll see you at the end of next month.
Cheers. After GTC.
Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.